right now, we want to go ahead and bring in Tariq Speights. He is a civil rights activist and Eastern Michigan University student athlete. Tariq, I know that you're on the football team, and football is taking a backstage right now. Uh, Tell us a little bit about why you decided to organize the protest in Ann Arbor over racial injustice.
There's a group of guys on my team, as well as a group of guys from the University of Michigan football team, and just through having some conversations through social media, we decided that together we wanted to take a public stand, and let the public know where where basically we felt and how we felt about everything going on. So Ann Arbor is about 10 minutes away from Ypsilanti. And so we figured it would be good to unite our two communities, and to publicly take a stand, um, with everything going on, the racial injustices going on, the police brutality going on. We figured we would come together, and have strength in numbers, basically having everyone come out.
So, after the protest, what did you walk away with? Do you feel like it made a difference or at least started a conversation?
Definitely. I told, in another interview I had earlier, I basically said that if we had two people come out to the protest, then in my eyes it would be a success because it started in the conversation. But to see that we had almost a little over 500 people come out and support us, I think that was awesome. That we had that many people come out, that many people support us for not only who we are, or not only what we do, but who we are. So I think that was awesome.
Tariq Speights with us. He is a civil rights activist and Eastern Michigan University student athlete with us on the Oakland County Megacast. And right now, Tariq, we're seeing in professional sports and in college sports with people like yourself who are using their platform where athletes are looked up to by so many people in our society, adults and children alike. And we can learn a lot by utilizing those platforms to spread the good word across the country and across the world about making positive changes. How important is it for you and for your teammates, knowing the platform you have in the Eastern Michigan community and in the and in the sports community, to be able to fight for this social justice?
It's huge. Using your platforms is like big, and using your platforms, there's people who don't use them right. So it's not just that people are using their platforms, but they're using it to spread the right messages, to get out the right message. So, like myself, I have about 2,000 followers on both of my social media pages. And so anytime I post something, you have 2,000 eyes looking at it. So if you're posting stuff that's spreading the right message and stuff like that, it could be a very quick way and easy way to get out a good message. Something that our coach talks about here is that leadership is influence. And so if you can go and influence one person, that one person can go in and influence another person. And then you really could end up influencing a lot of people to do the right thing, but you're not necessarily having to do it individually with, like, say, 100 people that I have on my team. I could go and talk to one of my teammates, and that one teammate can go and influence 10 other people. And that message is still getting spreaded, but it's not necessarily that one person doing all the forward.
Tariq Speights with a civil rights activist and Eastern Michigan University student athlete on the Oakland County MAGAcast. So you have the protest earlier on in August against social injustices, police brutality, and so on and so forth. And you're using your platform to build that chain of leadership, so to speak, from you to other people and from other people to through their networks and so on and so forth. Any further plans right now for more protests or more discussions in the community using the platform that you have and the influence that you and other student athletes at Eastern Michigan have as a catapult for these critical societal conversations?
Yeah, definitely. So us as I guess would say like an athletic department, we have a student athletic advisory committee. It's called SAT. So basically with that, we launched a voting initiative early, I want to say maybe July, just try and get our entire athletic department registered to vote, because voting is part of the way we can enact change. Protesting is awesome, but voting is like an action that we can physically do to enact the change we want to see. Excuse me. But we already have, I think we're at maybe 4 or 5 of our athletic teams 100% registered to vote. And so our goal is to get I think we have 17 of our varsity teams registered to vote. So that's one of the things we're doing at Eastern. But like I said at the protest, this is just the start of it. It's the start of bringing our 2 communities together, Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti. So we're planning on doing a lot of stuff in the future, especially leading up to the election, and then after that, because right now sports are taking we're still very much student athletes, but with the season not happening right now, it gives us a unique time to address some other important issues off the field. So,
in talking about your teammates, I know that you're not going to be playing, but has it brought you all closer together, and do you think it will make you a stronger team?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say something about the culture of Eastern Michigan football. Like when I was getting recruited here, Coach Creighton and even some of the other coaches talked about how much of a family it is here and a brotherhood. And so many times you hear that during recruiting, and it sounds like it's just a recruiting point or something to sell. Me being here for now a year now, like it's not just a recruiting point. That's like we're all a family here. All 115 guys on the team, as well as the coaches, those are all my brothers. I look up to the coaches. I feel like I could trust any of them with anything I needed in my life. So I definitely think like Eastern Michigan, we're a bunch of guys who have already gone through adversity. If you look at all 115 guys on the roster, we've all had some type of adversity that has got us here. So this is just another challenge for us, but it's nothing that we haven't handled and succeeded or been victorious through. So it definitely has brought us together, but this is it's just another step that we have to overcome, and we're going to do it. And whenever they do let us play, we're going to be ready, whether that's in the spring or whether that's in the fall, but Eastern Michigan is going to be ready to play.
Tariq, I know that your protest that you were a part of was a peaceful protest, and it brought a lot of people out. It started a lot of conversations. But throughout the country, we are seeing where some of these protests do lead to violence or looting. Do you think that is taking away from the message and the work of what you and other people like you are trying to do?
It definitely could. It definitely could be something to take away. I kind of addressed it before we started the protest on Saturday, that to like what the purpose of the protest was. It was to take a stance against everything going on, to use our voices. And I made it clear that we're not like the intention of this. We're not going to go destroy property. We're not going to go get violent, because that's going to give any opposition of what we're doing, it's going to give them something they could say to discredit whatever we're doing. So I do think that the violence and the looting and stuff like that is such a small percentage of the peaceful protests that go on. But obviously we know the media, and so most times you're going to see the bad stuff. You're not going to see necessarily the good stuff. So I do think that it can lead to it being discredited, but at the same time, I think judging a movement by its most violent part is not what you should do, because the movement is so much more than that. And I think, like we did it on Sunday, it's being done all over the country. And so we're just seeing a snapshot of some of the violence, of some of the looting and stuff like that. But I do urge more and more leaders to make sure they make that clear that that's not the purpose and that it can serve to discredit whatever good you're doing.
It's such an important conversation and important work that you and other athletes are getting involved in, as well as other people throughout the country. But a question: how do you take it from the protest, having your voices heard, to getting that enacted in policy for long-term change?
Definitely. So through the past few months, I've been told that I should change my major to political science. But that's one of the ways getting into professions that we had a talk with the Washington County Sheriff, Sheriff Jerry Clayton, and so he was talking about like why he's in the profession, and so seeing stuff, protesting, that's part of the solution. But at some point, you're gonna have to have a seat at the table of power. So having more and more people who understand that message, who want to see change, you have to figure out ways how to get them into seats of power. So whether it be elected positions, whether it be people voting, that it's a big thing, and not just voting on November 3rd, but voting in your local elections, voting for the sheriff, which are elected positions in most counties, voting for the prosecutors of the county and stuff like that. That's how you could really see the change. And the presidential election is huge, but more and more, the president is just one person. Making sure you put the right people in power in your communities and your counties is the biggest way you could see that start to become policy and not just opinion.
So, Tariq, while we have you here, let me ask you that. So, you said you had a meeting with the sheriff there. What has your relationship with law enforcement been? And I know law enforcement agencies are trying to diversify their membership because, as you said, you can't change things from the outside. You need to be on the inside and have a seat at the table. Is it hard to try to diversify when so many things like this are going on?
Yeah, I would say I started out as a criminal justice major when I first came to college, and a lot of things, including some of the stuff that's going on, kind of pushed me out of wanting to do that. At least primarily focusing on that. But I would say it's being more comfortable with having those uncomfortable conversations. So I had a conversation with the sheriff the day before the protest, and we had about an hour conversation just talking about stuff, like trying to knock down some of those barriers that have been made because of how the relationship between African Americans and law enforcement has been in this country for so long. But it's going to take having those uncomfortable conversations for us to truly see change. And so I don't think you could really say, like, you don't really know how the other side feels until you truly ask. So having more of those conversations, I feel that I'm already starting to build a relationship with Sheriff Clayton. I met Chief Cox. I think he's Ann Arbor police this past weekend as well too. So just having more and more of those conversations and breaking down those barriers that may have been created by previous generations, that's how we're going to see change.
Tariq Speights, civil rights activist, Eastern Michigan University football player. Thanks for taking time to be with us on the Oakland County Megacast, and thank you for caring enough to get involved to try to make a difference because you can't change things from the sidelines.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.